You're probably making a big mistake that's holding you back from jumping higher. It's not always about doing some secret exercise or adding something to your routine. Sometimes it's a matter of not doing something. There are a ton of very common mistakes that a lot of athletes are making that's not only hindering their vertical, but their long-term athletic development as a whole. So here are 7 mistakes you might be making that you should stop instantly. Let me get straight into it. Number 1, having poor recovery. You can train as hard as you want in the gym, but if you're only sleeping 5 hours a night and living off McDonald's and Popeyes, don't be shocked when your vertical doesn't change. Training itself doesn't make you better. It actually breaks your body down. The improvements and adaptations literally happen during recovery. Poor sleep, your nervous system never resets. With a bad diet, your body doesn't have the fuel or building blocks to rebuild itself. So sleep well, eat well, and treat recovery as serious as your training. Number 2, rushing back from injury. I get it. You want to play as soon as possible. The truth is, most athletes are stubborn, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. When you don't give your body the time it needs to fully heal, you come back weaker and prone to re-injury. Let's say you've been doing rehab for a while, you're feeling really healthy and you feel no pain, but you haven't progressed properly into back to sport activities yet. Even though you feel healthy and no pain at all, it doesn't mean you're ready for the demands of full intensity sport. You're basically skipping a few steps if you go from rehab exercises all the way to 100% sport. And when you're doing that and there's a huge spike in workload, that's the main way injuries happen. So even though you feel healthy, you still want to go through the necessary progressions to bring you back to doing max intensity during sport with no pain. So don't skip steps, start at level 1 and build from there. Number 3, giving up too early. Most athletes have short-term mindsets when it comes to training. A lot of athletes try out a program for a few weeks or even a few months. They don't see instant gains and then they quit. That's pretty much like planting a tree and digging it up every week to see if it's growing. Jump training is a long-term process, just like anything else worthwhile. Muscles and tendons adapt slowly. Your body rebuilds itself back up slowly. So you need a reality check. It's gonna take way more than a few months, maybe even more than a few years to see the progress you really want. You likely want a 40-inch vertical or to do a two-hander at 5'7", but more times than not, it's going to take longer than what you'd expect it to take. I've gotten so many athletes come to me asking me if I could help them get their first dunk in 1 month because they say they're really close, but they're only touching the rim. I'm sorry to say this, but you're farther than you think. There's a huge difference between touching the rim and getting your first dunk. Trust me, I went through the same thing. So stop chasing 1 month vertical transformations. Enjoy the process of training. Be willing to train for years down the line, and I promise you, with that mindset, you're going to reach the elite level. Number 4, doing trendy exercises and expecting crazy results. That's all these trendy and crazy exercises are, just exercises. And adding 1 to 2 exercises to your routine isn't going to be the game changer that you want it to be. I'll be honest, there are a lot of great social media creators out there that give a lot of great advice, a lot of great workouts and exercises, which can definitely help you in your vertical jump journey. However, before you start doing it, you want to know the context of why this specific athlete is doing it in the first place. Don't just start doing loaded barbell jumps because you see me doing them when you don't know the reason of why I'm doing them. So the real questions to ask yourself: why would someone do this specific exercise? Does it match and fit my current level? How do I progress and regress from this exercise? Don't just add something blindly to your routine. Figure out the benefits of it, and then you can determine if it's going to help you out or not. Train with a purpose. Number 5, not measuring your progress. Most athletes don't track anything. They just go to the gym, do what they feel like doing, and just leave. Their training intensity depends on how they feel on the day of. So Monday, they might feel really good, really motivated. They have a really good workout. Wednesday comes, they feel like shit. They feel really exhausted, so they half-ass their workouts. You're not gonna become a good athlete if that keeps happening. If you're not measuring your jumps, your lifts, and your intent, then you're not gonna improve. It's as simple as that. The purpose of training is to become more fit, more athletic, right? Specifically more fit and more athletic than where you were before. But if you don't know where you were before, how will you know if you're actually getting better? This is the bare minimum when it comes to training. Not just with jump training, not just with sports training, but with working out and training in general, no matter what your goal is. You must track all of your numbers and progressively overload week to week. You don't need to increase intensity by crazy amounts each week, but as long as you're progressing, that's all that matters. Just to emphasize, tracking isn't optional for elite athletes. That's why I track every single one of my athletes' progress on Get Up Vertical. Because when you have a customized plan paired with 24/7 accountability, progress is pretty much guaranteed. Yes, the numbers and the tracking can be overwhelming, so having a coach there for you is going to be a game changer in your athletic performance. So if you want that type of guidance and the blueprint that's helped hundreds of athletes jump higher, apply for Get Up Vertical with the link in my description, and I'll reach out to you if you're a good fit. I'm only taking limited athletes per month to make sure that I have enough time for every single one of you. Number 6, focusing too much on lifting or plyos. Some athletes swing too far on one direction or the other. Some are adamant in only jumping and doing plyos, others in only weight training. Both approaches fall short, and my simple answer: do both. You can't reach your your absolute max vertical jump potential without improving in both areas. Plyos are going to help your tendons and CNS store and release energy a lot more efficiently. Weight room training will get your muscles and tendons stiffer and increase the amount of force you can put into the ground. So just do both. All you got to do is make sure you're managing the amount of load properly, because it's very easy to overload and hurt yourself if you're not controlling the intensity and volume of both. So what you can do is start off with 1 to 2 weight room sessions per week, followed by 1 to 2 plyo or jump sessions per week. And this brings me to my last point. A huge mistake I see a lot of athletes make is overtraining. It's so hard because jumping, lifting, and playing your sport is really fun, so you don't always notice when you're pushing too far. If you are doing all three, it's very hard to maximize all three. If you're lifting, jumping, and playing your sport 2 times a week each, and you're doing that on separate days, that's 6 out of the 7 days where you're stressing out your lower body. So you're barely leaving any room for recovery. What you can do to control your volume and have enough days for recovery is pair your high intensity lower body sessions in one day. For example, lift before or after practice, or stack your jump session with your sport. This way you're training your lower body 3 days a week as opposed to 6, while still getting the stimuli of lifting, jumping, and playing your sport. Still though, even with this March scheduling, you can't just keep volume and intensity maxed everywhere. Something has to give. If you went really hard on a basketball practice for about 2 to 3 hours, you can't just tack on a brutal lift or a jump session right after. So you want to make sure you're managing intensity and volume, prioritize what you want to prioritize, and know when to push and when to back off. This is what separates athletes who make long-term gains from those who get injured. So in the bottom line, if your vertical is not improving, it's not because you're not training hard. It's not because you're not doing this specific exercise. It might be because you're making a few mistakes in your training that's canceling out the hard work you're doing. So fix your recovery, commit long-term, train with a purpose, stay consistent. All these things, make sure you're following in order to make the most progress you can make. And if you want to make even more progress, hop on Get a Vertical and I got you. But yeah, stay patient. The results will come. But yeah, that's all.